University of Nebraska-Lincoln's 2016 Nebraska Beef Cattle Report has been released and is available online. It contains research results from numerous UNL studies. At the Beef Feedlot Roundtable in West Point, Nebraska last week, we talked with Galen Erickson about several topics contained in this year's report, starting with a look at how cattle perform over time.
One of the things that's important for producers to know, especially as we start to look at whether we should make cattle bigger or market them early, is what is performance doing, especially at the end of the feeding period. So we've been very focused on how does fatness change, but most importantly, how does carcass weight change. And what we've noticed is that everybody's in tune with the idea that cattle sort of drop off as they get bigger and bigger. And that's true, except when you measure carcass weight, they sort of continue to grow and grow and grow. And so last fall we saw very big cattle because producers have realized that cattle continue to put on carcass weight. So to know when's the optimum time to market, we got to quantify how that performance changes over time. And so that's really been a major focus for us. We have a lot of ongoing research as well as some new research in the beef report.
So that closing out the feedlot time then, is that counter to what you would normally think?
Well, especially cattle can be marketed multiple ways, but especially when cattle are sold on a carcass weight or dressed weight basis, making them bigger tends to make the individual who owns those cattle more money. And so it goes against sort of the conventional wisdom in the old days is well, cattle as they get bigger sort of tail off and it's just smart to get rid of them. I'm not sure that's the case today if you're selling on a carcass weight basis, which, by the way, we would recommend everybody do because it'll long-term make you the most money.
One of the other focuses in the report is the use of residue in Nebraska. What are the ways that you find most valuable to using residue here?
Well, this is a major research and extension education area for us, primarily because we think residue is such an untapped resource if we're smart about how we use it. And so we have a lot of work on sustainable use of residue. There's really three ways. Grazing residue, which is an excellent way, probably the best way to use it because cattle harvest the best stuff. And so backgrounding cattle, certainly cows grazing, works great till we get a lot of snow cover or ice, but it's still our best use. Second would be harvesting as corn silage, harvest the plant and the grain at the same time. Large focus area for us. Year in, year out, it's one of our most inexpensive sources of energy for growing and backgrounding cattle, maybe even for higher inclusions and finishing cattle. And then the third way would be harvesting those residues as baled stalks, et cetera. And that may sound like it is probably the lowest quality way, but we're working on ways to upgrade that quality and still fits for a lot of people to feed low inclusions.
Nebraska is also the second largest producer of ethanol in the country. One of the products that comes from that is distillers' grains. Is it priced to a position where it's very usable for Nebraska cattle producers?
Depends on who you ask. You know, we were frankly, from 2006 to 2011, our message was feed as much distillers as you can get a hold of because you were buying it at quite a reduction relative to corn and it's worth quite a bit more than corn. And it was no-brainer. That's why we were recommending it. Now our recommendation is to be smart about it. And so if I know exactly what your corn price is and exactly what your delivered price is on distillers, we can optimize the inclusion. And we have tools available online that will allow producers to do that for themselves. Unfortunately, even at the prices we see today, it's frankly a smart move to feed at least 15 to 20% in the diet on a dry basis, primarily as a protein source. The other benefit I would say, especially for backgrounding cattle, is the type of protein that it's providing is the type of protein that we are short on and we require. It's called bypass protein or rumen undegradable protein. So unfortunately, even today's prices, yes, our inclusions are lower than in the past, but it's going to ebb and flow, just like all markets, including the cattle market. So you just want to be prepared to capitalize when it is a smart move.
On the Market Journal website, we'll link to the 2016 Nebraska Beef Cattle Report if you're interested in finding more information.